What's up, amigos? It's the Prodigy Maker Show, episode 89, and this is a summer camp guide for players, a player's guide. I wanted to share with you guys some of my tips for getting ready for summer camp. I run a high performance summer camp. I've been running a high performance summer camp for 19 years now. I can't believe it. And my camp is in the beautiful Green Mountains of Vermont. So if any of you guys are interested in a sleepaway camp in a beautiful place that has serious professional training and personal attention, we train very hard the Spanish way, and we keep it very real. If you're interested in a camp like that, please consider my camp in the mountains, the Chris Lewit Tennis Academy. And I wanted to share with players, whether you come to my camp or not, what are some things you can do to get the most out of summer camp and to not fall into any traps. And probably number one, the most important thing is to stay healthy, do injury prevention, keep your body fit and in shape. And that probably includes some cardio work as well. There's nothing like going to camp and feeling that physically you are in a lot of trouble. Like you're not going to be able to withstand the training day. You're going to be too sore to perform well the next day. A lot of players who come to my camp, we do 2 sessions of serious fitness a day, and it's tough. You know, some kids are really hurting at the end of the week, and I have to give them an extra day or 2 off so that they can acclimate and adapt. So one of the best things you can do if you're going to a high performance summer camp is make sure that you're hitting the gym a couple times a week, doing a full body strength and conditioning program. That's smart. Get used to lifting weights, get used to doing some strengthening, do some core work, do some mobility work for your shoulder, for your hips, and do some running or do some cardio work. Run, swim, jog. That's what I usually recommend. Run, swim, bike, jogging. Medium distances is fine. Some interval work is great. Some speed and agility, change with quick changes of direction is great. Anything you can do to increase, basically bring up your VO2 max so you're more cardiovascularly fit and ready for camp, and make your body stronger and less susceptible to injuries. That's a big one. Nobody wants to go to an awesome camp and then get injured the first week or get injured, have some sort of nagging injury that prevents you from maximizing the experience at the camp. Unfortunately, that does happen from time to time. Very rarely at my camp. I pride myself on taking good care of all the campers, pushing them hard in the gym. I'm also a strength and conditioning coach, so I try to keep the kids really healthy, but unfortunately it does happen rarely from time to time, and that's a real bummer for everybody. So take care of your physical body, hit the gym, go to the track, do some interval work, run some miles, swim, bike, get your body ready. Make sure you're stretching. Make sure you're taking care of your mobility so that your body's ready to work hard. Don't just show up on day 1 of camp and dive into a rigorous program. That's going to be a disaster if you do that. Make sure you're ready physically. This Prodigy Maker Show is brought to you by Babolat. I endorse Babolat. Babolat sponsors my academy and my club, so we carry all Babolat products. Fantastic company, great rackets. I've played with the Pure Dry for over 20 years now, and I love Babolat products. Great string, great rackets. I like their clothing too, which a lot of people don't realize. They have a very nice clothing line. So please check out Babolat stuff. In addition, secondary sponsor is the iCoach and the Topspin Pro. Those are 2 devices that we highly recommend at my program. I use them all the time. Some kids like the Topspin Pro better. Some kids like the iCoach better. But they're both great devices. I highly recommend them for working on your strokes and your movement at home in a small space. In inclement weather, if you can't get to the court, maybe you live in New York City. I'm from New York City. I had a coach in New York City for 20 years. Maybe you had a little apartment and you can't get cross town to get to the tennis club, and you tried to go to the local park and there's a line around the block and the monitors are there and you can't get on a public court. iCoach and Topspin Pro are a great way to get a workout at home. Check them out. So along the same lines, I would say you should probably play a lot of matches before camp starts. So some kids, what they do is, they get through school and maybe they've got a lot of stuff going on in the summer and they just kind of show up to camp and they haven't played any matches. So I think if you want to maximize summer camp, you got to make sure that you are match tough before camp starts. Try to play sets regularly. Try to enter some tournaments before camp starts, because that way when you arrive at camp, the coach is there. I know that I want to see what level you're playing at, and if you're not playing at a good level, you're not going to get the best grouping. You're not going to be on the court with high level players that you want to be with if you're not playing well. So one of the things I always do is we usually play points and I evaluate players, and it's best to come on that first Monday ready to compete, not just hoping to spend the first week or two getting back into tennis playing habit. I know some kids, that's the only way they can do it, just because of their busy summer schedule. But ideally, if possible, play some tournaments leading up to camp. At the minimum, play some practice sets. Play with some friends or set up some matches at home. And try not to just show up not match tough, because then it's going to be tough for you to prove yourself to the coaches wherever you are. So I think that's a very important thing. I give that same advice to high school students before the high school season. A lot of kids do not play matches or tournaments over the winter, and then they show up at high school practice and they have tryouts the first week. They may even have challenge matches or tryout matches, and they're just not ready. Try not to do that. Try to always play matches before your high school season or the tryouts, or in this case, going to an academy for the summer is essentially a tryout. Don't show up and tell the coaches, I haven't played very much, but I'm a really good player. But the coaches need to see what your true level is in order to place you in the appropriate level. And as much as I want to put you in a higher level, if you're not playing well and you need a couple of weeks to get there, that you're going to have to be placed according to the actual level that you're playing at the camp. Of course, I can always move you up, but ideally you would just be ready to go from day one. So that's my advice. Make sure you play matches, at least practice matches. It's better to play high pressure tournament matches so you're really steeled for competition right from day one at camp. Another tip that I would say for players is try to be coachable. No coach doesn't love coachability. All coaches love coachability. When you have a kid who's like a sponge, who's listening and really trying to absorb the information that you're giving them, and it's excited to try new things, excited to learn, who has a passion like that, it feels great as a teacher to have students like that. The more you behave like that, the more love and attention you'll get from the coaches, whether it's me, and I happen to work on the court. I'm not in the office. I coach full time in the summer. I work with all the players, from beginners to elite level players. I'm there, I work 12-hour days in the summer on the court. And I'm really, really busting my butt to try to give the kids who come to my camp that personal attention from myself. And, it feels so rewarding when a kid wants to listen and learn and apply things and grow. If you come to camp with a closed mind, with no growth mindset, and you are locked into what you're doing and you're not open to trying much, I mean, look, I get it. You're only maybe at camp for a few weeks. I have some kids who come for the whole summer, but if you're at camp for a few weeks, it depends on the situation. I get that you don't want to make some major changes that may conflict with your coaching team back home. That makes perfect sense. There's nothing worse than when a camp starts to muck around and change technique or tactics that conflicts with the team back home. It's much better to work as a team with the team back home, and I really try to do that. So I understand that some kids are hesitant, but depends on the coach. If you have a really good coach in front of you, it's telling you, this would help you or that would help you, try to be open-minded, try to be coachable and learn those things. If it conflicts with something that your other coaches are telling you, bring that up with the summer camp coach. Tell the coach, my coach back home wants me to do this, and have a discussion about it. But try not to ignore what the coaching team at the camp is telling you, because it's a real turnoff. Like no teacher likes to be ignored or feel like what they're saying, you don't care about what they're saying. I mean, why are you coming to camp if you don't want to get expert advice? So try to be open-minded, try to listen. If something feels wrong for you or different than what you learned at home, bring that to the coach's attention right away and have a discussion about it. And good coaches will really appreciate that. If you just keep it to yourself and just sort of like let it come through one ear and then out the other, like, okay, I'll listen to this coach now, but I won't really actually try it. I think that is that's not the best situation. It's much better to be honest with the coach and say, this doesn't feel right, or this is different than what I learned before, and that way you can sort of try to come to a solution together. I think that's much better. I know some kids come for a week or two and they just want, a few tips and to play a lot of points and go. That's one way to do camp. But for me, the best way to do a camp is to develop a relationship with the team there, to try to grow as a player, to try to learn new skills, and to try to leverage the expertise of the coaches at the camp, if the coaches are high-level coaches. I consider myself a high-level, knowledgeable coach, and I have a lot of experience working with top national-ranked juniors, and I love to teach. I love to share that with children. So in my situation, hopefully if you come to my camp, you respect and take seriously what I say to you, because I say it with only the best intentions and coming from a perspective that has a lot of experience. But I guess, for there are always going to be kids who go to camp just to hit some balls and have fun. That's not really the best situation for the coming to my camp, where we try to be really high performance and really I really want every player to grow and develop, but within the parameters set by their home team. If they have a private coach back home, I'm not going to reconstruct someone's game and mess them up totally different than what they did at home. I prefer to consult with the home team. I try to ask all the players, what is your home coach telling you? What's your team back home working on? And try to work within those parameters. I think that usually gets better results, unless there's something I feel is really off, and maybe I'll bring that to the attention of the player and the parent. But yeah, try to have an open mind. Try to be coachable. Teachers love that, and if you're like that, you'll get even more love. You'll get a teacher's heart if you try to listen and respect what they have to say and try to apply what they have to say. So another very important one for players at camp, and I've been running a camp for almost 20 years now, is you have to get sleep and recovery. You have to eat well. I'll tell you the story how one year in camp we found out all the campers were sneaking treats from the local bakery, skipping their lunch, sometimes skipping their dinner. They were not taking care of their nutrition. So I think that's really important, to eat well, make sure you have the right snacks. Our players can bring a full boatload of snacks with them, whatever healthy snacks, whatever fuel they need. We do grocery trips so the kids can get their personal items, their favorite nutritious items. Hopefully they're nutritious, their favorite snacks and energy drinks and things like that. So bring all that. Make sure you have a lot of that stuff with you. Most parents are very good at supplying that. Go on the grocery runs, get the things that you need, and make sure you're eating, good solid meals that are nutritious and getting sleep. I think sleep is a big one for players. You're at camp. It's very exciting. You're away from home. Some kids are away from home for the first time, and it can be mayhem at the boarding site. In our case, the players stay at a country lodge, and we have to go around and get the kids to have to go to bed. We have a curfew. We have to check on them, and we encourage players to go to bed. We can't force players to sleep, but we can go and do bed checks and encourage kids. We usually have the kids in bed by 10 o'clock, and then the kids are probably up at like by 7 to have breakfast and get ready for the start of the practice day. So it's important to try to get that 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and that, especially because your bodies are working so hard, you need that sleep to recover. And so some kids choose to stay up late. Some kids choose to play video games late. Some kids choose to talk with their friends and have a hangout time late. And inevitably, if you do that for 1 day or 2 days during the week, your tennis is going to suffer. You're not going to play well. It's just inescapable. You're not going to hit the ball well, and you're going to have lower energy, and you're going to be a very frustrated camper. And then you're not playing well, your performance is lower, the coaches get upset or frustrated, maybe you even have to move down a level because you're not playing well. You don't want that. You want to really maximize the camp. You want to get as good as you can in the time that you're there, whether it's 1 week or 5 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. And so please try to keep your nutrition up. Please try to get good sleep, right? Related to that is sort of taking care of your body in terms of injury prevention, stretching, mobility. I think a good high performance camp should provide that. Our camp has built-in, coaches leading, stretching daily. We like the kids to swim. We have a beautiful river that the kids can swim in on site. You can go. We have a pool that you can swim in. I always encourage the kids to swim because it's been shown to be by the research to be very good at speeding the flushing of metabolic waste and reducing soreness the next day. So I always encourage campers to swim. Some campers are like, no, I don't swim. And I think that's a mistake. Like some campers see it as an inconvenience, or they're embarrassed to go in the pool or swim. It's really important as an athlete to go in water, to use hydrotherapy. So the more you can swim, even just dog paddling around in there, or even just like cooling off in the cool water, has some therapeutic benefits and can improve recovery. So I just think it's a no-brainer. Try to hit water if you can after practice. You can take a hot bath back at the hotel. You should stretch. In the morning, you do your dynamic stretching. In the evenings, you do your static stretching. And I think if you're doing that, working on your mobility daily, which we do, I think that most camps should try to do that. You get less injuries, you feel better, you can perform better as an athlete. And so I think that is very important. And I'll leave, I think, one more tip for players who are attending camp. If you're attending camp, the best thing, in my opinion, is to stay with one camp. A lot of people want to go around, try different camps. It's exciting, like a new place, new environment. Some players change a camp every year. And I think if you find a camp that is a high quality camp, it's much better to stay with that camp and to get to know the team really well, get to know the head coach very well. And then they know you when you come back for the next season, and you may even get more personal attention that way because the coaches know your game better and they feel very familiar with you. You develop a personal relationship that way. The mentoring can be better that way. The support that you get, you feel like you're going to a place like your home, like you're part of that place. And I think that should not be undervalued. Sometimes in the chase to try something new, you lose quality and you lose consistency, and many times the camps may be working on different things, so the player could stagnate or maybe go sideways because there's different coaching advice that conflicts when you go to one camp after another, different academies, different philosophies, things like that. If you find a place that you like, try to stay within that philosophy, get to know that team well, get to know the head coach well, and that can be a very fruitful relationship throughout your junior development years, rather than always, bouncing around to different places. The same with coaches. Some parents and players are always trying a new coach. In general, if you find a coach who's really, really good, that's a rare thing to have. And I would definitely try to stay with a coach longer term if I could, rather than bouncing around and always thinking that the grass is greener with this coach or another camp. So think about going to camp as maybe a multi-year relationship, as a longer term relationship, not just a dalliance, not just going there and having a brief stay and off to the next one. I think that usually players who do that every summer, they tend to underperform. And players who stay with one camp and really try to grow within the camp philosophy and model, knowing the team well, I think they probably get better results if you track it year over year. And I think that is like very good advice. The other thing is, after the camp is over, it doesn't have to be over. Like, for instance, I coach year round. I have an academy year round. And I think the smartest summer campers that I have, they come back to visit. When Labor Day rolls around and camp is over at the end of August, a lot of times I will see these players coming for holiday visits, coming for private lessons or weekend training. And I think that's super smart, because it continues the mentoring, it continues the growth, it allows for follow-up like no other way could. Like, even if I send a report card or notes to you, which I like to do, that is useful. I can send videos back to your team. But if you come and continue to train with me, especially if you train one-on-one or in a small group environment, that can be extremely beneficial to keep up the gains that you learn during summer. Unfortunately, a common pitfall is that players will lose a lot of the improvements that they had in a summer camp, and when they go back to their normal training environment. Players also oftentimes lose their fitness. So as a corollary, I would say, when you go back home for the fall after camp, or whenever you go back home, try to maintain your discipline in terms of fitness. So too often I've seen kids who really improve their fitness at summer camp. They improve their endurance and their mobility and their strength. And then they just sort of, they lose the whole routine when the structure of camp is gone, and they lose a lot of the fitness gains that they had. And by the time it's October, November, they're just back to being less fit the way they were before camp. So keep your fitness up. Consider working with the team during the year. A lot of summer camps, not all of them, but I'm sure some other summer camps like mine offer training during the year. And that way you can have like a year-round relationship. For example, my students can message me, my campers can message me or WhatsApp me, and I give them tips, or I look at videos that they made. And that's another way that you can stay in touch with camp coaches or academy coaches and continue to get advice and help. I think that is another way that it's a good way to like keep following up, like stay connected. Just as like us as camp owners and academy coaches, we want to stay connected with you during this season. You can also proactively like stay connected with your coaches or any coach that made an impact on you, and you can continue to train during the school year. But it's tough when you see a kid in summer make a lot of improvement, like they come for a few weeks, and then you see significant growth in the player, but then they're gone like a ghost from September to the next May, and then they come back the next summer. If you're lucky, they come back the next summer, and unfortunately you have a lot of repair work to do. Hopefully you have less repair work than more. I know I have like a couple of sisters that come to my camp every year from Hong Kong, and I really like that relationship. Like, obviously they're not able to come train with me from Hong Kong because they're so far away during the school year, but we stay in touch via WhatsApp. Sometimes we do a remote lesson. I check up on their technique. And then when they come, they stay for a significant amount of the summer, 6 weeks or so. And I feel like I can really make an impact, and I have a good relationship with those kids, and I see significant growth season over season. But that's because that family chose to come back to the same camp, and this is their third summer with me. And I think that's the kind of relationship that you want, and that's when when a camp will really provide the most growth, rather than if you just keep bouncing, grass is greener, try this one, let's try this place. Oh, I heard so-and-so is playing at this place, I think it's, if you found something really high quality, stick with it and you'll get the best results that way. So I think that's some pretty good tips for players. I don't know if I have any bonus tips for you guys. Yeah, like try to stay out of trouble. Try to be respectful to all the coaches and you'll get a lot of respect back. Try to be well behaved. Nobody likes a troublemaker at camp. Every summer we have some kids, need to be disciplined, who are not being polite or doing something they shouldn't be doing. Try to come to camp with a great attitude, be positive. How about I have a bonus tip. How about you cut out the profanity? Because I have to give a lot of talks to a lot of high school kids, and sometimes younger than high school kids, about using profanity around our club, which is a family environment. So maybe you could cut out the profanity and try to be a well-behaved camper, because I'll tell you, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of work to run a camp. There's a lot of organization, and the best thing you can do to help the coaches and the team is to be nice and don't cause any trouble. So I guess that's my parting tip for you guys. And I hope you enjoyed, all of these suggestions about how to maximize summer camp if you're a player. I think we're going to do a video soon just for parents, but this one's for players. It's Chris Lewit here. We have a camp in the beautiful Green Mountains of Vermont. If you are watching this and you're interested in training with me, tell your parents to check out my website, chrislewit.com, or you can WhatsApp or message me directly, 914-462-2912. And you can learn all about my training and my philosophy, my background on this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Chris Lewit. We have a lot of good videos for free instruction, high quality professional instruction. You can learn about how I coach and all the players that I've worked with. All right, guys, good luck. Have a great summer. If I don't see you, have a great summer wherever you're off to. Adios.